Hey everyone, Zero here. It's been a while since I last talked about my free-to-play account, and a lot has happened since then. For a quick refresher, I started a free-to-play account back during version 2.0, and I managed to get through Amphorius while skipping every Chrysos heir except for Tribby, Anaxa, and DHPT. Instead, I doubled down on a few select teams, and I vertically invested into them. By the time we reached version 4.0, I got myself two beefy teams in Firefly and Archer, and my big Herda was not too far behind either. But we're about to enter version 4.4, and since we finally got the Starward Mode addition to all the endgame modes at this point, I thought it's a good time to revisit the free-to-play account to see how well it progressed, both in terms of how endgame is going, as well as the additions that my roster has gotten. And speaking of my roster, here's how it looks right now. I finally picked up my very first version 4 character, which was Mortonak's Blade, and I also managed to get my Dahlia to E1. Both of these involved 50-50 losses, so that was kind of unfortunate, but what can I say? It is what it is. In any case, Dahlia E1 is pretty self-explanatory, since the additional toughness damage helps out my Firefly quite a bit. As for Mortonak's Blade, he was great for not just my Acheron, but also for my big Herda. I mainly run him sustainless, and so far he has worked out in a lot of different places. If you're curious about my thoughts on the 4-piece Guard of Wuthering Snow set for him, feel free to check out my video on this topic in the description below. As for freebies, I picked up a free copy of Sparkle from the version 4 selector to get her to E1, and I also spent 2 Golden Companion Spirit tokens to get a copy of Huohuo at E0, as well as a copy of Robin to get her to E1. For Sparkle, E1 made it a lot easier for me to speed tune her for effective 200 speed. Considering that Archer is one of the teams that I have invested a lot into, I figured it was time to improve on it even more. For Huohuo, she is actually my very first limited 5-star healer on this account. And Robin getting her E1 allowed me to have another option available if I wanted to run her sustainless. Now, how do all of these additions translate to my endgame performance? I'll leave my records from Hoyo Lab on the screen for your reference, but I would say that overall in version 4.3, my vertically invested free-to-play account is in a pretty good spot. I know that some people were concerned about the lack of team variety for an account that has very few teams to begin with, especially now that all of our endgame modes are asking for 3 different teams. But being able to brute force my way through some of these stages made things a lot easier than you might think. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the state of my free-to-play account. Now, I would say that going forward, the one thing that I think most people should keep in mind has to do with how much overlap your team shares in terms of the supports that they use. To give an example, if you're someone that likes to use both Phynon and Anaxa as hyper carries, you'll realize that because they share the same supports in Ceridra and Cyrene, it becomes a problem when they're going to be fighting over the same supports. You can probably get away with giving Sunday and Sparkle to Phynon so that Anaxa has his best in slot supports, but now that we have a 3-team endgame, what if you wanted to also run Archer for the 3rd team? At that point, you're also going to be fighting over Sparkle, and it definitely gets old after a while. I know for some of you that are in this situation, it really sucks. And in the short term, you might just have to deal with it until you start investing into different teams. But I think this is a good learning experience so that you are a bit more mindful of how you plan for your future pulls. I would say that personally, I rarely take pure meta value into consideration because at the end of the day, the meta is always going to change, and it's always going to favor the newest characters. On the other hand, I value team synergy quite a bit, but I think it's also equally important to consider whether they will make your teammate sharing problem easier or harder to deal with. To give another example, let's say that I currently have an Evanescia team with Yao Guang, Huohuo, and Elation MC, and that I also have a Casterus team with Hyacinth, Evernight, and Remembrance MC. They're both solid teams, but because we're sharing the MC, there's going to be a little bit of awkwardness when you're trying to use both teams at the same time. Considering that Cyrene is currently on the banner at the time of me making this video, I would definitely consider getting Cyrene so that the MC can stay on the Elation team. And by doing that, it makes my teammate sharing problem much easier to deal with. But yeah, I figured that this was important to talk about since everything is asking for 3 teams nowadays. As for the future of my free-to-play account, I am still leaning towards improving my current teams, but I haven't fully ruled out Himiko Nova. For now though, I think I'll try my luck on the new Anomaly Arbitration in 4.4 later to see if I really need a new team right now, or if I'm still okay with what I have. In the meantime, if you want to be kept up to date with my free-to-play account's in-game progression, be sure to follow my Hold Your Lap page. I left a link to it in the description below. And before we go, if you have any thoughts on future polling plans, or if you have any questions about that, feel free to leave a comment along with your roster so that we can all collectively help each other out. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like. It's a shorter video this time around, but 4.4 is around the corner and I have a lot of topics that I want to cover in the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe to be the first to see them. I also stream on Twitch on a weekly basis, and I do a lot of in-game related content live, so be sure to check it out in the description below as well. Until then, I'll see you all on the next video.